Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Don't worry, we are not talking about the India-Pakistan cricket match today. You know why? Because we take the cue from Captain Virat Kohli that we are not the kind of team that presses the panic button after one match. After all, it's the World Cup, there is a league to be played. So we will talk about cricket at some point of time, but not today. Today, we are talking about a story that I wish I had not had to talk about for the simple reason that I don't know enough about this. So what I will do is that I will tell you what I know. Chances are that you also know all of it by heart. I will also tell you what some things look like and what feeling do I get looking at this and that, having cut my teeth covering crime a long time back and also supervising editorially a lot of crime coverage and reading a lot of crime stories and reading a lot of books on crime about complex crime. And finally, I will not pretend to know what I don't know. That is something that is difficult if I was speaking to you on one of these TV channels which smash the TRPs, right? There you have to pretend that you have to know everything. You cannot say, I do not know. So where I do not know, I will not pretend that I know. And you know by now that I am talking about the so-called Aryan Khan, Cordelia Cruz Empress Party case and the arrest and supposed seizure of drugs from people who were boarding that ship for a party. Mind you, this was not a ticketed cruise liner. This was a cruise liner that people can hire for private parties. In this case, a Delhi-based event management company had hired it, and maybe they sold tickets or memberships to people who were getting on board. Those included Aryan Khan, 23-year-old son of Shah Rukh Khan. That gave it the headlines on day one. And then we know he was denied bail, and then many other things happened. Now, what's happened with the story is that this is a can of worms. It's like a can of worms that's opened just a little bit in the very beginning, and now that opening is becoming bigger. So initially, the odd worm crawled out of it, and as the opening is now becoming bigger, and maybe the worms inside are realizing that now they are out of jail, that lots of worms are coming out. So this is now beginning to look quite complicated. And every few hours, you have a new quote-unquote star in the story. It's almost like a T20 match where with every over, somebody comes and hits 2 sixes, somebody comes and takes one great catch or has a great run out, or somebody comes and gets 2 quick wickets, as Shaheen Afridi did. And so for that moment, he or she becomes the star. That is exactly what's happening in this story. So initially, Aryan Khan, Shah Rukh Khan's son, Shah Rukh Khan was seen at the NCB office, in front of his house, wherever, going to the jail to meet his son. So that became a story. So Aryan Khan was the focus. Then the officer who was in charge of the investigation, that is Sameer Wankhede, he became a star because he is a star in his own right, because he is one of those officers who cannot stay out of the headlines. So last year, he was in all the headlines because of the whole Rhea Chakrabarti post Sushant Singh Rajput investigation, arrests, etc., etc. Before that, he was with the customs at the airport, so he was catching a lot of film stars and celebrities, apparently bringing in items on which they had not paid customs duties. He also became an officer in the service tax department, and when he was there, he charged almost 2,500 people for service tax evasion. That included more than 200 celebrities, and it does look like he collected quite a bit of money, not for himself, I'm not saying that, for the government. So about almost 100 crore rupees he collected in service taxes, which he said were being evaded. So he is a man with a sizable reputation, both for performance and also for being in the headlines and staying in the headlines. Also personal lifestyle. He's married to a Marathi film star. That doesn't hurt in terms of publicity and in terms of headlines. So he is a high profile person in his own right. By today, he's become the main star, unfortunately for him, of the story. In the middle, as I said, there are lots of things crawling out. So one was yesterday. That was a man called Prabhakar Sel. And as I read out this cast of characters to you, these pictures will run on the screen. Prabhakar Sel. Now, who's Prabhakar Sel? He is what, say, maybe at a Delhi club or maybe even a Bombay club or bar would be described as a bouncer, right? As a professional bouncer. Because as he says in his interviews to TV channels that he was a jobless person and for many years he was just providing personal protection to people. So these are people who walk around other people who are either important people or think they are important people or believe that by having a few of these guys in sort of dark safari suits, they can make other people believe that they are important people. Sometimes they also carry their mobile phones as used to happen, say with Vijay Mallya. In fact, as he walked around even at his parties, his bouncers or minders or his personal bodyguards would carry his tray, the glass of vodka and the mobile phone as well. So the phone rang, the guy would go straight to him. So people like their style also. So Prabhakar Sel is one of those guys. Now he is, why would we care about him? We care about him because he is one of the key witnesses in the NCB's case against Iron Khan and 7 others who've been arrested. Only 3 names have surfaced sort of more prominently, that is Munmun Dhamecha, who is a model, apparently a friend in the same circuit, a bit older than Aryan and the rest. I think she's 39 from whatever I read. I've not seen her birth certificate. Aryan is about 23 and a friend called Arbaz Merchant, from whom the NCP claims they recovered contraband hash. Contraband hash, how much? How much? 6 grams. 6 grams, right? For 6 grams of hash on Arbaz Merchant. Because, you know, a drug is a drug. So on that basis, and Aryan Khan is in because he is supposed to have known that this one had 6 grams of hash, and also that maybe he intended to buy or consume it, or maybe he knew where to buy and consume from, and maybe he's done it in the past, or maybe he had the intention to do it. Now, so this Prabhakar Sel, he was a witness to say that I was there, I'm an impartial witness, I was there, I watched these guys carrying drugs, etc., and they were caught in my presence. That's why you need these punch witnesses on any of these raids. Now, lots of people, raiding parties even take journalists with them, right? Because that is the best evidence on camera. I'm joking, because they can't become your punch witnesses. So punch witness in India is also a profession. Just as bouncer is a profession, punch witness is a profession. I can take you to any court in any city, and outside any lawyer will introduce you to professional witnesses, right? They do this all the time. In fact, even if you sign an affidavit or something, somebody has to witness it, they witness it for you. But even a court witness, evidence, you can find professional witnesses. So why was he there? He was there because his boss was there. Who was his boss? His boss was a guy called K.P. Gosavi. K.P. Gosavi is this sort of interesting looking guy. Doesn't it look like a character straight out of a Hindi movie? And I will also tell you which Hindi movie is this story unfortunately reminding me of in just a minute. Now, K.P. Gosavi looks like a busybody from Pune. Now, he already has a case of cheating and more under 420 IPC, etc., against him, and he's apparently been hiding from that case. Now, that case was registered by somebody in Pune who said that he took 3,09,000 rupees from him in small installments, saying, I'll get you a hotel job in Malaysia. Never delivered the job, never returned the money, stopped taking his phone calls. So this poor fellow went to the police. So that case is pending. So the man of such impeccable high reputation is the NCB's chosen witness who they've taken to this raid. He thinks he's important enough, or for him to be seen to be important enough, he must have a personal bodyguard. So he's taken Prabhakar Sel as his personal bodyguard, right? So, I mean, you can call him his circuit or whatever. Circuit is a nice guy, nice character. Anyway, so he takes him. So who's my witness? My witness is this so-and-so. Who's this so-and-so's witness? His witness is this other so-and-so, right? So that is how this is. Now what has happened is Prabhakar Sel has come and said that, look, this whole thing was fake. As a witness, I was made to sign on a blank Panchnama. Panchnama is basically a seizure sheet to say that this is what I witnessed, and then they filled whatever else they wanted to fill on it. Let me tell you, I'm not saying it happened in this case, but let me tell you, this is very unfortunately, a very normal practice with our investigating agencies, our thanas, and particularly agencies that have laws that give them sweeping, humongous powers, like the NDPS of 1985 that I had spoken about in my national interest last Saturday. In fact, I will again share a link with you. You can check that out. Now, he said, first of all, that I did not witness anything. I was just made to sign a blank paper. Bad. Then he says that the boss who had taken me, the boss who I was protecting, who I was playing bouncer with, KP Gosavi did it because I overheard him talking to a man called Sam D'Souza, saying that, good, we've got this Mota Asami. I'm using the word Mota Asami, he didn't say, but big fish. We can collect 25 crores in ransom, right? 8 crores of that we will have to give to Samir Wankhede. Now that is what he says, or that's what he alleges. I'm not saying it at all. I am not saying that the money was meant for Samir Wankhede. This is this guy who was actually Samir Wankhede's team's witness, or his witness's witness, right? Or his witness's hired gun, who says that he heard his boss tell somebody, this guy called Sam D'Souza, कि 25 करोड़ लेंगे, 8 करोड़ इधर देंगे, बाकी हमारा होगा, the rest we will keep. Now, you would have tossed it, bakwas hai, this is either hallucination, or just as a witness a witness is available for hire by the investigating agencies, a witness can also be available for hire by the other side, in which case the other side is very powerful also, very powerful, very rich, the best lawyers, the best wherewithal, the money, after all Shah Rukh Khan, and also that this becomes a center versus state thing. So the state government, and this state government in Maharashtra is not one of like one of those sort of Congress state governments that are easy to push around. They are a bit like the Mamata Banerjee government in Kolkata. They stand up and fight. So they are standing up to fight because their battering ram in this is the next character here, and that character is Nawab Malik. So see the picture again. Now Nawab Malik is an NCP, Nationalist Congress Party, that is Sharad Pawar's party. They are politician of some size, in the sense that he has a large following, is quite popular, he does a lot of work, particularly among the minority community. Also, this gets even thicker. I told you, these worms will crawl out, and at some point I will try and sort of make sure that they don't go too far, so I leave you more cluttered. But he has a son-in-law who's also named Samir, right? So now we have two Samirs. So his son-in-law, Samir Khan, he was arrested by this Samir Wankhede, and locked up on a drug charge, on a more serious drug charge than the one on which he's got this new people now. When he was locked up, it looks like NCB also then made sure, with a lot of dilly-dallying, technicalities, etc., to ensure that he stayed in the jail for a long time, several months. Now, what is the connection? Now, this Samir Wankhede's supporters would say that Samir's father-in-law is targeting this Samir because of what he did to his son-in-law Samir, right? Whereas this Samir's father-in-law Nawab Malik says that this Samir did what he did to my son-in-law Samir because I opposed this Samir for what he was doing in the Riya Chakrabarti case. तो इसने उसका बदला लिया, उसने इसका बदला लिया, right? More cluttered or less cluttered? Now, this new witness comes and says that I was fake, right? And he also says that, look, not only this, I actually made a video with my phone camera in the lockup, in the NCB custody, where Aryan Khan was kept, and there, see this video. On this video, I have KP Gosavi, my boss, BOSS, all capitals, right? My boss giving his phone to Aryan Khan and telling him to speak with somebody. And if you see those visuals, I saw those on Mirror Now yesterday. I bet other channels also have it, and you will see some screenshots. if you see those visuals, it does look like that Gosavi is instructing him, isse baat karo, isse aise bolo. I can't read the lips, but it looks something like that. It doesn't look like Aryan is begging, uncle, ye phone de do, main apne papa ko phone karna chahta hu, ya mummy ko phone karna chahta hu. It does not sound like that. Now, next question. How does anybody who's not from an investigating agency, how does somebody get access to an accused in the custody of one of India's top investigating agencies armed with this very draconian law? How does any outsider walk into the lockup and start talking to this guy? That is first question. Second, how does he have selfies taken with him? Second, all these are suspension offenses, suspension and frankly criminal offenses on the part of the somebody in charge in the investigating agency. Third, how does this so-and-so even offer his phone to somebody who's been detained on a serious drug charge, right? And as NCB has said in the code, a drug charge that can actually lead to a 10-year jail sentence, right? How can he give his phone to so-and-so to talk to somebody? Then, if you are on the other side, if you are on the side of this Samir is the cop Samir, the NCB Samir. This Samir is Nawab Malik's son-in-law, right? So, if you are on the side of this Samir, then I will ask, I had arrested this guy on a serious drug charge. How does this guy get access to a phone? Is he undercutting my investigation? Any which way you see it, you can be on this side or this side. It is a scandal that in the custody of NCB, a complete outsider gets access to an accused, gets pictures taken with him, hands over a phone to him, gets him to speak with somebody. Now we need to know who was the call made to. What was the phone number? What was the purpose of the call? Was the call to say, Papa, find such and such lawyer, in which case you will know this was to Shah Rukh Khan's number? Or was the call to somebody to say, don't worry, call my father, this is the number, what you need will be done? We don't know, right? And we need to know. Where is KP Gosavi? He's disappeared, right? He's disappeared, and meanwhile, NCB has gone to the court and said this Prabhakar Sahil was our witness, all right, but he's now turned hostile. So, it doesn't stop here. It keeps on getting worse as we go along. Now, this Prabhakar Sahil also says that he was asked to collect something from a particular place at 9:45 in the morning, that is the morning after the raid. So he gets there, he goes there, and a woman comes who's described to be or claimed to be Shah Rukh Khan's secretary, who comes in a blue or green Mercedes, right? It's a colorful description, and who hands over a bag to him. And he's told there is 50 lakhs in it. Then he takes that bag, and then Sam D'Souza features somewhere there. Then he takes that bag to KP Gosavi's house, after which KP Gosavi disappears and he's not been heard of since then. Now, of course, Maharashtra police is saying that they are trying to access the CCTV footings of that crossing to see if they can authenticate that particular event, that color, Mercedes of that color coming in. Isn't it like one of those Jasus Vijay kind of stories? Now, I told you early on that all this reminds me of a movie, and I told you I'll tell you towards the conclusion of this episode. The movie, it reminds me of Johnny Gaddar. Did you see it? The Sriram Raghavan sort of noir black comedy of 2007, where Dharmendra spoke one of my favorite lines, one of the most brilliant lines I've heard in a Hindi movie ever. When somebody says, such an old man you are and you are still a crook, इस एज में आप ये काम करते हो, and he said it's not about the age, it's about the mileage, right? So fantastic, but I'm not talking about that quote. What I'm saying is, in that film, everybody is a crook, right? Everybody is a crook. Everybody decides to work on something together, right? On a project together, again to hoodwink somebody. In the process, all five of them are all trying to stab each other in the back. This story is beginning to look a little bit like that. I don't know who's clean, I don't know who's dirty, I don't know what is not messy in this case. I think to be fair to the officer, so far he's had a clean reputation, but now even personally he's being dragged in. And personally he's been dragged in for his identity, because it does, I mean, he says his mother was Muslim, she's unfortunately no more. His father is Hindu, and he's been brought up in a composite Indian family, so he respects all religions. His former wife was Muslim, but he said that they had civil registered marriage, but that marriage resulted in a divorce by mutual consent. Then he married again. His current wife has put out a statement saying both she and her husband are practicing Hindus. Now, how does it matter whether one is Hindu or Muslim? So why is Nawab Malik producing this officer's birth certificate to say that, look, he is a Muslim? Because his birth certificate says Samir Dawood Wankhede, right? And in the course of time, he has dropped Dawood, so he's become Samir. This has nothing to do with Dawood Ibrahim. Dawood Ibrahim became familiar in early 90s and late 80s. Samir Wankhede was born in 1979. He's about 42 years old. So not that. Don't make that connection. But he's saying that he hid the fact of his being a Muslim. Now, my initial question was immediately, as I'm sure it will be yours, so what? I mean, and he says he hid the fact that he was a Muslim so as to get selected in IRS, Indian Revenue Service. Now, what is the implication? So, my immediate question was, Arey, Nawab Malik sahab, kya baat aap kar rahe hain? If he was a Muslim, you think UPSC would not have selected him? There are so many Muslims being selected by the UPSC, but that is not the thing. This is a bit more complicated. That's why I told you this is clutter within clutter within clutter within clutter. Now, apparently, Samir Wankhede got selected by UPSC in the Indian Revenue Service in 2008 in the scheduled caste quota. Now, because he inherited his caste from his father. Now, if you are a Muslim or a Christian, then you cannot claim the scheduled caste status. That's been the eternal controversy and debate in Indian politics, because a lot of the minority leaders say that you should not deny people for their caste-based reservation benefit just because they change their religion. On the other hand, the counter argument is that would then be incentivizing people to convert. That is the reason one side is saying, one Samir's dad-in-law is saying that he's Muslim, this Samir is Muslim, but he hid the fact so he could get into the UPSC on scheduled caste quota. This Samir is saying, look, I respect all religions. His wife is saying both of us are Hindus. So if you add all this up, what you have is a perfect mess. It's a mess in which now Maharashtra government is also gratefully waded into. Because now what can they do? What can they do? They can register a case because they will say crime took place in our territory. So their police can register a case of bribery, etc., or whatever else, because this witness is with them. Prabhakar Sahil is with them. Somebody will find KP Gosavi someday. In the middle of all this, at some point Aryan Khan will get his bail, and then I suspect some of the story will be forgotten, and at least it will get off our headlines, just as the Riya Chakrabarti story has gotten off our headlines, although the poor woman and so many others suffered so much in that period. But on the other hand, we have to remember what this is all about. So underlying all this is drug seizures. How much are the drug seizures from these people? I will just read out to you. These are the exact numbers. And I will keep a straight face. If you can't keep a straight face, it's up to you. So I will keep a straight face. So what have they found? They found cocaine. Cocaine is now an expensive drug. But what a big pile they found. 13 grams. 1-3. That is 13 gram, right? Of cocaine. 5 grams of MD, which I don't understand, but I'm told it is some kind of a recreational drug. But just 5 grams. Charas. A big pile of charas. 21 grams. What is 21 grams? छटाक भी नहीं है. What is old timers would remember, छटाक बोलते थे. छटाक भी नहीं है ये, उससे भी कम है. Then 22 pills of MDMA, like ecstasy, it's one of the recreational drugs. But 22 pills, for which So many people have been arrested under laws that can get them or keep them in jail for such a long time. The politics of the state, the center-state relations have all gone into a spin. The reputation of a very prominent officer of Narcotics Control Bureau is on the line, and frankly I would say the credibility of a very reputed organization and a very powerful organization today lies in the shreds. This is a fit case for the Director General of NCB to go to Bombay, Mumbai, take charge of the situation, go speak with the Chief Minister of Maharashtra and try and, or maybe the Chief Secretary or Home Secretary of Maharashtra, because we don't know where the Home Minister will be, sorry to be bitchy towards the end, and calm things down, because this really undermines India's fight against drugs. Because these things don't matter. What matters is those thousands of kilos of heroin, serious stuff, heroin that kills people. It gets you addicted with only one shot. Thousands of kilos, I think 3,700 or something kilos of heroin was found in the Mundra port just the other day. Now, where did it come from? Where was it going? What are the networks? Who's selling? Who's distributing? If you can focus and put all your forces on things like that, that is the way to fight the drug menace. Because globally it is known that no country can fight drug smuggling unless you start capturing at least 40% of the contraband that comes in. You can't do it by capturing 5 grams of this, 22 tablets of this, 21 grams of this, and 13 grams of this. That's a waste of investigating agencies' time, taxpayers' money. Also, it's destructive of the investigating agency's reputation. No matter what headlines it gets you today, it distracts you from the story, and it also causes great inconvenience, steals the liberty. What bigger inconvenience can be there? Steals the liberty of a lot of people who may be either fully innocent or mostly innocent, but definitely not drug traders or drug smugglers. And you know what? You must be wondering why Samir Wankhede also acting the way he is. Is he overreacting in first writing a letter to the police commissioner of Mumbai saying there should not be any precipitate legal action against me? It means nothing. He's writing that letter, but also going to the court, seeking the court's protection. Underlying that is also the NDPS, because NDPS, because it is such a draconian law, also has a section, I think 68, that says that if there is vexatious arrest or raid or harassment of anybody using the powers of this act, anybody entitled to use the powers of this act misuses those powers to raid somebody, arrest somebody, inconvenience somebody, that officer can also be prosecuted and sent to jail. So this is a law that can cut both ways.